Okay, so this is the first problem. So again, this is the table of the shear and moment equations for the segments and their limits. So what we will do is, using the shear and moment equations, we will now substitute values of x at different points or within the limits of each segment. So here is a table for segment AB. So again, ang limit ay 0 to 1.5 meters. So meron tayong column dito for the different values of x and the corresponding values of shear and moment using these equations. So ibig sabihin yan, if for example, x is 0, so using the shear equation, dahil wala tayong variable dito, para mag-substitute ng x, the shear value is 10. So, ang ginawa kong increment dito ay for every 0.5 meter doon sa segment. That's why I have here 4 rows. So, ang ginawa ko, from 0 to 1.5, we start at x equals 0. Then we will get another value at x equals 0.5. Another value of shear and moment at x equals 1.0. And another set of values at x equals 1.5 meters. So, kaya dito sa segment AB, you have 0 to 1.5. So, we will get values of shear and moment at these points in that segment. So, again, for x equals 0, dahil wala tayong variable dito, the shear value is 10. While for the value of moment at x equals 0, so we have 0 because if you substitute 0 here, so your moment is 10 times 0 or 0 ang moment. Then when x equals 0.5, the shear equation is v equals 10. So again, wala tayong variable dito na x para mag-substitute ng 0.5. So the shear value remains the same. And for the value of moment, if x equals 0.5, you substitute x as a 0.5 here. So you get m equals 10 by 0.5 or 5 kilonewton meter. When x is 1.0, the shear value remains the same kasi walang variable na x dyan. And then when x equals 1.0 sa moment, so we have 10. And when x equals 1.5, the shear remains the same as 10. And for the value of moment at that point, where x is 1.5, so the moment is 10 by 1.5 or 15 kilonewton meter. So for segment BC, we will do the same. So this time, 0.5 meter ulit ang ginamit ko na increment. So that from 1.5 to 2.5, we have x equals 1.5, x equals 2, x equals 2.5. So using the shear and moment equations for segment BC. So dito nakita natin na kapag walang variable na x, ang value ng shear is the same at all points. So ganun din kapag moment equation ay walang variable na x. So here, sa shear values for segment BC at different values of x, dahil wala tayong variable na x dyan, the shear and moment values are the same. So again, when x equals 1.5, shear is 0, m is 15. Kasi nga wala kang variable dito para i-substitute yung value ng x doon sa segment na yon. Then for segment BC, so the same, 0.5 meter increment, so that we have 2.5, 3, and 3.5. And using the equation for shear and moment. So dito alam na natin, wala tayong variable dito na x para mag-substitute ng mga values na ito. Kaya yung shear values mo dito ay pare-parehas na negative 15. But, for the moment equation, dahil may variable ka na x dito, you substitute the value of x, which is 2.5. So you will get a value of moment na 15. Then for x equals 3.0, the shear remains the same. But when you substitute 3.0 here, the moment is 7.5. Then for x equals 3.5, walang variable na x. So the same shear, then substitute 3.5 here. So you will have 0. Now, kailangan doon sa last point, ang maging value ng moment ay 0. Or, when you draw the shear and moment diagrams, it will close to 0. So let us now plot these values in the beam para makita natin anong itsura ng shear and moment diagrams. Okay, so ito yung beam natin. So, when you draw the shear and moment diagrams, first step is you draw a line parallel to the beam. So, this is the beam with a total distance of 3.5 meters. And then, for segment AB, 1.5, BC1, CD1. So, iyan din ang makikita natin dito. Now, itong mga red dots, temporarily, we will use this dahil ito yung points na kinuhanan natin ng values ng shear at ng moment. So, bali dalawang lines na parallel sa beam ang gagamitin mo kasi yung isa ay para sa shear equation or shear diagram and then the other one is for the moment equation. So, ito yung ginamit nating increment na 0.5. So, 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5. So, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 2.5, 3, 3.5. So, the same dito. So, you will now plot the values of the shear. So, again, you have positive and negative values or zero values. So, ito ang magiging reference mo. Lahat ng makukuha mong positive shear values will be plotted above this line at lahat ng negative ay below this line. And of course, kapag 0, dito lang sa level na yan. So, these are the values of shear na nasolve natin. We have positive 10 when x equals 0. When x equals 0.5, 10 pa rin. Hanggang doon sa x equals 1.5. So, these are the 4 values na nasolve natin for segment AB. Now, you have to take note na sa B, you have 2 segments na nakakonect. Yung BA at saka yung BC. Kaya yung value ng 10 dito na nakaplot using the shear equation for AB, this is considered as the shear value to the left of B. Kasi kasama ito doon sa segment na nasa left side ng B. So to continue, you plot now the shear values for BC, for segment BC. But according to our values or equations, 0 lahat yan. And of course, you will not plot anything here. So when x equals 1.5, shear value is 0. When x is 2, the shear value is 0. When x is 2.5, the shear value is also 0. So dito sa point B, for segment BC, wherein your shear value is 0, yun ay to the right of B naman. Because again, for point B, you have two segments. Segment BA, which is to the left of B, and segment BC to the right of B. Kaya, dito sa B, dalawa yung shear values mo. Isang positive 10, which is to the left of B, isang 0 to the right of B. So, since 0 ang values natin dito, so again, wala tayong shear diagram or ordinates. So, for CD, so these are the shear values na na-solve natin. When x equals 2.5, for CD, we have negative 15. When x equals 3, for CD, we have negative 15 also. And when x equals 3.5, we have negative 15 kilonewtons also. So, the same with B, yung point C ay merong values ng shear to its left and to its right side. Kasi sa point B, dalawang segment ang nakakonect dito. Yung CB at yung CD. Yung value ng shear from CB is 0 and that is to the left of C. Yung value ng shear sa point C for segment CD na negative 15 is to the right of C naman. So after plotting the ordinates, you need to connect these ends of the ordinates. So for example, for segment AB, so you just connect these points. So this is now your shear diagram for AB. Now for BC, since 0 lahat yan, so again, walang shear diagram. For CD, so you connect these points of these ordinates at ito ang magiging shear diagram for CD. So we have positive shear values, we have 0, and then we have negative shear values. Now for the moment diagram, so if you plot the values, so when x is 0, you have 0 moment here. When x is 0.5, ito yung na-solve natin na ordinate, which is positive 5. When x is 1, so we have positive 10 kilonewton meter. When x is 1.5, so we have positive 15. Then when x is 1.5 for segment BC, or to the right of BC, we also have 15. And then 15 also when x is 2.5 or 2 for segment BC. And when x equals 2.5 for segment BC, the moment is 15. So for CD, when x is 3, the moment is 7.5. And when x is 3.5, the moment is 0. So, ganun din gagawin. You will just connect these ordinates na na-plot mo dito. Now, when you connect, so may guidelines actually dito, but I will give the guidelines when we go to the next problems na merong degree ng curve. So, for the meantime, tingnan muna natin kung anong itsura ng magiging curve natin. Dito kasi sa shear diagram, we only have horizontal lines kasi pare-parehas naman yung ordinates. So what if iba-iba na yung values ng ordinates? Like in this case, sa moment. So you have 0, you have 5, 10, and 15. Actually, dito makikita mo na na merong variation sa values ng moment. Dito naman, walang variation sa value ng shear. Kasi yun ang lumabas sa solution or dun sa equation natin. So, for segment AB, pag tinignan natin yung values, say for example, every 2 consecutive values, ano yung difference ng dalawa? You have here 0 and 5, so ang difference is 5. 5 and 10, difference is 5. 10 and 15, difference is 5 also. So, ibig sabihin nito, from 0 to 1.5, yung rate of change ay pare-parehas. Kaya pag when you connect this point hanggang dito for BC, you will have a straight line. While for BC, dahil pare-parehas naman na 15 yan, so you will obtain a horizontal line. While for CD, dahil may variation ulit, and if you check for the difference between 2 consecutive values, for example, 15 and 7.5, ang difference niyan ay 7.5. Then, 7.5 to 0, ang difference is 7.5 also. So, ibig sabihin, from C to D, there's also constant rate of change ng values kasi for every point, merong nababawas na 7.5 kilonewton meter. So that when you connect these points, you will have a straight line also. So this is now your shear and moment diagrams for the first problem. So dito, nilagyan lang natin ng shade para mas ma-visualize natin yung itsura ng shear diagram and also the moment diagram. So nilagyan lang din natin ng shade. Now, you notice that the values na nilagay natin dito ay yung sa mga ends na lang ng segment. Now, with regards to the moment values, kagaya nito, so sa point B, to the left of B and to the right of B, we only have one value of moment, which is 15. Unlike dito sa shear diagram, kasi sa shear diagram, to the left of B, you have 10, to the right of B, you have 0. For segment CD or for point C, na may nakakonect na CB and CD, sa moment diagram, to the left of C, you have 15, and to the right of C, you also have 15. So, for the moment diagram at point B, you have 15 kilonewton meter. One value of moment dito sa B. Sa C, one value lang din. Although nagkaparehas sila, nagkataon na parehas yung values. So, this is the load diagram, the shear diagram, and ang goal natin dito is to get the maximum value of shear. So, based sa ating shear diagram, ang maximum value ay 15 kilonewtons. So, when you get the maximum shear value, or ganun din sa moment, you get the largest one, and its absolute value. Kasi dito, you have 10, positive 10, you have negative 15. So, it doesn't matter kung positive or negative yan, as long as it has the greatest amount of shear. So, that will be your maximum shear. The same for moment. So, since dun sa diagram natin, isang value lang naman yung nakita natin for both points with the 15 kilonewton meter. So, maximum moment is 15 kilonewton meter. So, that is our first problem for load diagram, shear, and moment.